All right, welcome to the second episode of In the Zone. I'm your host TK, and we're going to be looking at the Bossy division today. Going to be doing the predictions on see how the Bossy division fares up. We just did the Langway division, so it's only fair that we do the Bossy division. However, it looks like I should have probably listened to my buddy RK when he told me not to. Well, he didn't tell me not to, but he asked me if I was going to get somebody else to predict the Bossy division. I probably should have, but who's nuts enough all day long putting together a podcast to predict teams before the draft has even happened? Pretty much only me. So I'm going to take a crack at the Bossy division today. I found it a lot tougher than the Langway division. I noticed one of the probably the biggest difference between the two divisions was I think the Bossy division is a little more reliant on what is going to happen in this year's draft. I could see from where I predict that these teams are going to end up, I could see big changes depending on what kind of draft they have. So I really found like I was just doing a lot of guessing for the positions that I put in this one. I really hate the team that I put in eighth place because I really don't think they deserve to be an eighth place team. They really don't. But that's just the way it's shaped out, and we'll break it down and see what we can come up with. And so overall, in eighth place, we're going to start with. Sorry to say this, Donald, but it seems that I've got the East Coast Brewers in last place. This was a really tough call, especially when I saw your forwards and I was taking a look at them and I went, wow, that is one solid core of forwards. You got Tavares, Peterson, Lee, Konechny, Carlson, Eichel, Duchesne, DeBrincat, Skinner, Svechnikov. I mean, that's outstanding. That's an outstanding core right there. No doubt one of the positives for the East Coast Brewers is definitely their forwards. Dono has 10 of them already signed, so going into the draft, he's not probably too worried about getting any forwards. And I wouldn't doubt to see Skinner, Anders Lee, and Matt Duchesne have better seasons than they had last year. So no doubt Dono's going to have an easy time putting up the points. But the problem is when you take a look down here in defense, and that word there is a killer right now, and it's empty. So no defenseman. Dono needs all defensemen, and I don't think there's any doubt which way the Brewers are going to be drafting in this up and coming draft. But there is another problem, but we'll get into that in just a second here. In goaltending, they're looking positive and negative. The positive is they have one very stellar goaltender in Carter Hart. He's young, locked up for long term. It's going to be really good. So great foundation there. Definitely rock solid for your goaltending there. However, he's really the only one, unless Donald's going to sign his prospect Calvin Peterson or draft him. But now here's where it goes bad for the Brewers. Like everything they got going there is absolutely solid. I mean, they're not big in the prospects either. They get a little weak there, but the one prospect they do have is Kirby Dach. And I mean, Dono could sign him if he wanted for next year and make it an even more potent point-wise forwards going out there into the zone each and every game. But the no defense is the big killer, and the draft kills it even more. The one positive, and the only one positive the Brewers have, is they have 7th overall pick. So they're going to get some quality. I'm going to guess a defenseman, or maybe, who knows? Maybe it'll be a goaltender. I don't know. It's either going to be a defenseman or a goaltender, I would imagine, that 7th round pick. But then after that, he only has 3 6th round picks and 1 8th round pick. So that's 5 picks in the first 8 rounds. And when you have no defense and you don't even have enough picks to fill your defensive roster in the first 8 rounds, this will have to be chalked up as another rebuilding year for the East Coast Brewers, and that's why I've got them in last place. It's just that it's a difficult build. He's got definitely a solid foundation with the forwards, no doubting that. I guess in summary, if Don wanted to, he might be able to trade a couple of those forwards, get some D or a goaltender or whatever he needs, but that is one possible route of going for sure. Yeah, so I just see a rebuilding year for the Brewers. So I got the Brewers in eighth. Okay, so as you can see, in seventh place, we got Flames of Fleury coming in. It's not as bad as it looks being in seventh place, and this is one of those teams that I was talking about that could really change depending on what happens in the draft. So as of right now, one of the positives they have 9 forwards signed, which is awesome. That means they don't have to draft too many forwards. They do have the league MVP in Draisaitl. That's a definite bonus. 110 points last year. Wow, can't go wrong there. So the points will be coming in for sure. But once you take a look at these 9 forwards, you look at them and you go, overall, it's just kind of an average group. Draisaitl helps bring them up to average. So a little bit of work to be done in the forwards, but definitely some good building blocks to work with. On defense, same with defense. Defense is probably I would list as a negative. And the reason I list it as a negative is because the West only has two defensemen. One really good defenseman, actually the most points in the league last year, defenseman with 75 points, Sean Carlson, awesome defenseman, great guy to have. But then you drop down to Jake Muzzin, who's average. I'll give him average. So he also has to draft 4 more defensemen, so that's where it could get a little bit tough for him. In goal, the situation, if you take down a look down here in goal, it's not much better. Martin Jones and James Reimer, 2 signed goaltenders that he has. Martin Jones is basically pretty much a bad goaltender on a bad team, and that's a bad combination when you get that put together. Unless San Jose improves or Jones bounces back this year, I see not good things in Jones's future. So Reimer, that guy's always a wild card. You never know what you're going to get with Reimer, but once again, just an average goaltender. So yeah, and Spencer Knight, good goaltending prospect. Be seeing what happens with him. So, but that's Spencer Knight is still quite a ways down the road for the Flames of Fleury before he makes any impact at all. Overall, their prospects are very weak. Knight is probably the biggest one of the 3 that West has. Flames have never been big on prospects anyway. They're more of a roster carrying kind of team. That's the way they like play in this division. So yeah, so I don't worry too much about Wes's prospects since he doesn't put a lot of emphasis on the prospects. I see a positive in the draft for West, though, even though he only has 1 negative, and that negative would be that he has no first-round pick, but he makes up with it for 2 second-round picks. And but here's the big kicker. West has 11 picks in the first 8 rounds. And that's why I say this draft could be huge for a guy like West. He's got a lot of spots to fill, but he's got a lot of quality picks to be able to make this team a lot stronger. So I can see with a good draft for West, this being a playoff team, but I'm just going by what's happening before. Like I said, I have knowledge of what I'm going to do with my draft, but I don't have any knowledge of what West is going to do with his draft. So I can only go by with what I see here right now. And so for that very reason, that's why I've got West down here in 7th place. So Flames of Fleury in 7th. As you can see, for 6th place, I've got the Calgary Oilers coming in. First off, I want to welcome Blake Driver to the league. Soon to be Master Corporal Ground Controller in the air traffic control trade. Blake has been following our league for a few years now, actually, and has been wanting to get in. So it's exciting to have Blake with the addition to the league. I think he's going to be great when it comes to trading, and I think he'll be a very active owner. So welcome to the league, Blake. But unfortunately, let's see what Ryan left you with. It's not uncommon for when an owner is going to be leaving to kind of leave his team a little bit depleted. And that's kind of what Mr. Driscoll did to you. Pretty much anybody's going to do that. However, still left you with a good base. So there's something there for you to work with. But overall, this basically is not Blake's team. But since he only has 14 overall players, he's going to have a big chance to put his own stamp on this team because 16 of those players will be a result of what Blake did during the draft. So this is it's an early chance to put a stamp on your team and still have some good building blocks to start out with. I would have to say the 6 forwards that you were left with is an overall positive. Unfortunately, your bigger stars are probably getting a little bit older, and that could hurt a little bit. Brad Marchand, he's starting to get up there, but he's really showed no signs of slowing down other than injuries and whatnot. And of course, you always got to worry about the suspensions with Marchand. Tyler Seguin, he's slowing a little bit, but he was oft injured last year, so maybe he won't be as injured as much this year and could be a little better. Got toughness in Vander Kane, Logan Couture, another good hockey player, but definitely a solid 6 forward, so that's definitely a positive. I'd also have to say the Oilers have would be a positive in the defensive department too as well. 5 overall defensemen, fairly solid, all of them. Darlene being the big one who signed to the long 4-year term contract, which is big for Blake to have him around, give him something to build around. Unfortunately, even though the other 4 defensemen are excellent, they're on their last years of their contracts. But overall for this season, with these 5 defensemen, the Oilers are looking good. When it comes to goaltending, they're looking excellent as well. Darcy Kemper and Frederick Anderson. Kemper has surprisingly good numbers for playing for a team like Arizona. And Anderson, I think he's a pretty good goaltender, but he plays for the Leafs. And unfortunately, the Leafs are not big on defense. And I don't see the old timers that they went and got for the 3rd and 4th lines this year helping out on the defense much more, even if it is a guy like Joe Thornton and stuff like that. So, but I still see Anderson is putting up good numbers. So overall, I would say the Calgary Oilers are in good shape for their goaltending with Anderson and Kemper, no doubt about that. In the little weak in the prospect department, and I hate saying this guy's name, I can never say it right, Martin Necas, whatever, however the hell you say it. Only prospect the Oilers have, however, an excellent prospect to have. Definitely a good hockey player. So one good prospect to go on. For Blake, it's going to be a little tough with the draft because, well, Ryan kind of went for it last year by trading his picks and that, and rightfully so. He ended up in the money by getting that. But Blake's first pick this year, which is going to make the team hard to make this team any better, is 38th overall. That's his first pick. And only 7 picks in the first 8 rounds. Could use a little more than 7 picks, but yeah, so that's a hard call. That's a hard call. It should be interesting to see what kind of stamp that Blake puts on the team. It's going to be his own now, and look forward to seeing how he drafts and see how he makes his first trades with people. It would not surprise me if Mr. Driver or Mr. Kelly have a trade already lined up. And that's why they've been asking me. So anyway, as of right now, before the draft, I've got Blake and the Calgary Oilers sitting in 6th place. All right, this one was a really tough call for me. It was flying colors. I've got them in 5th place in the Bossy division, but this is one of those teams that I was talking about that I may have out of the playoffs that could easily end up in the playoffs by the time the year is over. A lot of it depends on what happens with the draft, how other people draft, how Garrow drafts in this one. But Garrow being an expansion team, the Flying Colors is now entering their 4th season, and Garrow is still yet to make the playoffs. So this will probably be definitely his best year to take a run at making the playoffs since he's gotten in, as he's been slowly building his team. Definitely one of the positives to Flying Colors. They have 9 forwards signed. That's always good. Only 3 more to fill out the roster. And it's definitely a solid group. Got guys like Arvidsson, Barkov, Connor Brown, uh, Steven Stamkos, Dylan Strome has a good possibility of maybe breaking out there. You never know. I guess one of the only negatives that I can think of right now is both Duclair and Hoffman have still not been signed in the NHL yet. So they definitely need to find some teams to make this solid forward core because it makes it 9 players, and to go down to 7 would definitely hurt. But I see both these guys signing before the season starts up. Also, with the defense, I would definitely have to rate Flying Colors with a positive defense as well. No doubt about it. Especially if they can get Justin Schultz to bounce back and have a good season. If he bounces back, then the Flying Colors will have a 4 solid goal or defensemen to throw out there. Dougie Hamilton, Clefboom, Morrissey, and Schultz. That's a good solid 4 to start with. Draft a couple more and should definitely have a solid D group going. Goaltending is a big negative for Flying Colors. Let's take a look at it. Both goaltenders not even getting a 900 save percentage when both your goaltenders aren't getting 900. Your goaltending is definitely below average. There's a possibility that both could bounce back this year. Matt Murray being in Ottawa, I don't. First year, maybe not this year, is going to be very good for him in Ottawa. Who knows? Maybe he'll be great. Devin Dubnyk, he's getting up there in age. I mean, he was awesome, but he's getting up there in age. And seems like Minnesota puts more stock in Stalock right now as the starting goaltender for the Wild. So also, the Flying Colors is going to have to sign the prospect Jack Campbell as a goaltender next year, or drop him before the season starts. And he's only a 904 save percentage, so doesn't look like any help's coming for the goaltending for Flying Colors. We'll see what they can do with trades and draft him to maybe shore that up, or maybe he's just going to ride it out. In the prospect department, the Flying Colors has no shortage on prospects, as they have, what is it right now? 9 prospects that they're fooling around with here. In the prospect department, Hayden, Jack Hughes, definitely a keeper. Let's see what he's going to do. Kubalik, another good one. And Tolan is supposed to be good, but we kind of haven't heard much from him. Kunin's also pretty good, so definitely a positive in the prospect departments. There's some help coming along the way for Flying Colors with the prospects, so that's looking good for them there. Definitely, no doubt about it. Let's take a look at the draft positions. As you take a look here at Flying Colors, they got all their draft picks. This is one year they decided not to do any trading. They'd done trading before and whatnot, but they decided to stick firm this year. And they have all their draft picks, plus they got another one here from the Brewers. So they've got 9 picks in the first 8 rounds. So no problem getting the players that the Flying Colors is going to need. It'll be interesting to see what they do in the draft. So this is why I think they could move up in the draft. So for right now, Garo, sorry I got you in 5th place, but I still think you can go higher. But as of right now, slotted for 5th. Coming in at 4th spot, I got my very own Courtney Islanders. I got the Islanders coming back, making the playoffs after falling way out of it last year, and were eventually ended up winning the first overall draft pick. And that's going to be a huge bonus for this team coming up. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's take a look at some of the core of the Islanders. And right now, definitely a positive would be the Islanders have 11 forwards locked up, especially if they sign Ryan Donato, that would give them 11 forwards, so they would only have to draft 1 forward. There's some good players in the 11 there, but nothing really spectacular, nothing that really sticks out. So I would call it a pretty average 11, but the bonus for the Islanders this year is that they're not going to have to draft very much. So overall, it's a solid core of 11 forwards, but I would say overall average. They get a little more better, and a positive for the Islanders would be their defense. The defense is looking pretty solid. Hopefully Nick Leddy's production is going to go up this year a little bit by Devin Taves leaving. Taves took away a little bit of Leddy's power play time, so he may get that back or he may not. Possibly Taves' production is going to go up. I know the Islanders are going to be signing this prospect for sure. He'll be playing with Colorado, and you never know who he's going to be playing with. If he gets a chance to play with Cale Makar, you never know. Taves' point production could go through the roof with the Avalanche. He's a great skater. He can keep up with McKinnon. Just a good fit for the Colorado Avalanche. So that's a solid four to work with there for the Islanders. So only 2 defensemen to draft, only 1 forward to draft. Obviously, you're going to get more roster players, but still, they're sitting pretty good there. Looking good in the goaltending department as well. Once upon a time, this could have been the best duo in the league, but unfortunately, due to the injuries and that the Bishop and Bobrovsky seem to get, and it doesn't help that Bobrovsky's playing for the Panthers. That doesn't help him at all. And Bishop's going to be battling against Hudobin this year because Hudobin had such a great playoffs last year. So as good as these 2 goaltenders are, it's still on shaky ground. So it's hard to make a call on the Islanders goaltending. But one thing is for certain, they don't have to draft a goaltender. So basically, 1 forward, 2 defensemen is all they have to draft. The prospects, there's not a whole lot of them, but in the 4 that they have, they're pretty good. You take a look, or 5 of them, actually, I should say. We got Cody Glass. Kotkaniemi is the one that could be the big guy who makes a difference for the Islanders down the road here. Don't have to sign him this year, but they could sign him if they wanted to, the Islanders. And Ilya Sorokin at some point is going to be pushing to get in the lineup as a goaltender. He's young and he's an up-and-comer. So looking solid in goal for the Islanders right now. But here's definitely the biggest positive for the Courtney Islanders is the up-and-coming draft. They only have 6 picks in the first round. However, those 6 picks are all in the top 24. Courtney Islanders setting a league record this year with 5 first-round picks, and that's going to be some quality players coming to the island. So this team is really going to change from the way it was last year. It's going to be quite different than what we saw last year. It should be fairly competitive, and that's why I've slipped the Courtney Islanders in the playoff spot at 4th. You certainly can't go wrong by predicting the Harrison Lakers in the playoffs. I've got them coming in at 3rd in the division, in the Bossy division this year prior to the draft. The 3-time Cup champions are looking solid once again. Definitely well-rounded overall good team. Definitely a positive. Renee has 8 forwards signed for this up-and-coming season, and it's a very solid group of 8. Players like Connor and Domi. If Drew Ann could have a bounce back this year, that would help out a lot. Rope Hintz, Horvat, just awesome playoffs last year. Excellent regular season. And then there's Hubie Doobie Doo, Jonathan Huberdeau. Awesome hockey player, puts up the points with Barkov all the time, so you can't go wrong there. And Mitch Marner is always going to get you points. Another positive for the Lakers is definitely their defense. They have 4 signed defensemen. You can see them all here. Nice core there for sure. You got Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Eric Gustafson, Hedman, and Theodore. And in my opinion, after watching the playoffs last year, beyond a doubt to me, Victor Hedman is the most dominant defenseman in the NHL. This guy absolutely controlled every single game he played in last year in the playoffs, and I pretty much watched them all. Amazing talent. This is one super solid defense here for the Lakers. Four definitely solid guys. And let's see what Renee adds to them over the draft. In goal, looking pretty good in goal as always. Connor Hellebuyck, Vezina guy. You know, could he win the Vezina this year? Who knows? Saros, awesome goaltender for Nashville. Looks like Renee's time is kind of done in Nashville now. Still got Linus Ullmark, who played pretty good. So goaltending set, and a couple good prospect goaltenders as well, that with no need to sign them this year because 3 goaltenders signed, and the goaltending is looking good for the Lakers. Also, in the forward department, they have Kirill Kaprizov, who is a possible stud prospect. I doubt that the Lakers will be signing him. I'm sure they're going to sit on Kaprizov for a while and let him develop and become a better hockey player before signing him for a term. Can see that coming. As per usual, as of lately for the Lakers, they have all 8 of their draft picks. So they have all 8 of their original draft picks. So they're looking good for the draft once again. So the goaltending looks good, the defense looks good, the forwards looks good, the prospects are good, the draft is looking good. It's an overall good team, always a well-rounded team from Rene. Would not surprise me if this team cupped out again this year. Rene seems to know his stuff. So I've got the Lakers coming in 3rd spot. Hey, what do you say? I've got Steve Grant's Pitter Patter finishing in 2nd place in the Bossy division, and I have no doubt could take a run at the division title this year, depending on how things go with the draft and injuries and whatnot throughout the season. But Pitter Patter is looking real good. Steve has been building this team now as a contender, and it's been nothing but on the way up since he's taken over this franchise. So well done, Steve. Steve has 9 forwards signed right now, and an excellent crop of forwards they are too. Some of the highlights being, of course, Austin Matthews and Patrick Laine. Hopefully Laine can stay healthy this year. Voracek and Nugent Hopkins are definitely not going to hurt at all. So 9 solid forwards for Pitter Patter going into this season. Also a positive would be the defense. Typically the defense, it's 4 solid defensemen. You got Doughty, Orlov, Sergachev, and Shattenkirk. There's a lot of points in that defense right there. So 4 solid defensemen. All you got to do is pick up 2 more. Looking good in the defense department, looking good in the forwards. Go down to goaltending. If you take a look at goaltending, I got to think that this is the best tandem in the entire no control zone, bar none. John Gibson and Tuukka Rask, I think it's the best combination out there right now. The only thing holding this combination back right now is the Ducks need to be better for John Gibson. The guy is the entire team and has been the entire team for the last 2 years. Everything suffers for it, his save percentage and his wins, but he's one of the best goaltenders in the NHL. So if the Ducks can get better, this tandem is going to be awesome. The only thing is, Tuukka Rask, on the other hand, with the Bruins, I see the Bruins taking a bit of a step down this year. So you need yin and yang to balance each other out there, but definitely best goaltending tandem in the league. Love it. Love those goaltenders, Steve. Also for prospects, got 5 prospects. Only Tyson Yost is really showing any promise so far out of this group of prospects. So yeah, Steve has 5 prospects. Not the greatest bunch of prospects, but you never know. That's what prospects are all about. The only negative that I see. The only negative I see for Pitter Patter this year is the draft itself, as they only have 5 picks. So they kind of, it's a great core that they got there. Great defense, great offense, great goaltending, but they needed to add to it. And it's going to be tough with only 5 picks in the first 8 rounds. So it's going to be hard to add to the team. And their very first pick of the year is 51st overall. So that's going to make it tough to add to the team, but lots of pieces out there to be able to trade around if he wants to mix and mash his team and try to make it a more solid, rounded team. But it's looking pretty good as it is right now. This team, once the draft is over, they could be my prediction for first place in the division. They're that good. I like this team a lot, and second place for the moment before the draft is done seems like a place for them. So second spot for Pitter Patter, and big drum roll. That means only one other team can be at the top of the Bossy division, and that's going to be the New Brunswick Bears. Dan has put together another great team here in the Bossy division. He is a former winner of the Bossy division, so this wouldn't be the first time for Dan winning the Bossy division. However, the more I look at it, the more I still have to wonder right now. Pitter Patter just seems like a really strong team right now, but I've also got Dan in there as a strong team. Draft will definitely let me know more about where they're going to be standing. I think I might let a little bit of the draft get to me in the placings here. I probably would have had Pitter Patter in first place if their first pick in the draft this year wasn't 51st and had so few picks in the top 8. But without saying that, let's not discredit Dan's team. I've got Dan's team number 1 in the Bossy division this year. Dan has 9 forwards signed, and they're basically above average forwards as a group of 9, I would say. You got Patrick Kane, Ovechkin, Mark Stone, Tara Vinen. Awesome hockey players, put up a lot of points. Everybody overall, that group is very solid with look, 43, 56, 59, 84, 67, 46, 54. That's a solid group of forwards putting out a lot of points. So very strong in the forwards, looking good there down. In defense would also have to be a positive. You got 5 defensemen there with Tyson Berry, Duncan Keith, Peter Angelo, Subban, and Weber. That is a very solid top 5. The only problem with the top 5 that I see is Duncan Keith is really starting to get long in the tooth as he's getting up there in the age. But you never know. I mean, 27 points this year, not too bad. But the key to the Bears this year, if PK Subban bounces back from his terrible season that he had last year, the worst of his career, if he can bounce back, this is an outstanding defensive top 5 for defense. So the draft will definitely make a difference for Dan in this one, pulling out 1 more D-man and only 3 more forwards. So looking real good there. In the goaltending department, this is I call this one kind of a positive negative, and I'll give the Bears the positive that both goaltenders are good goaltenders. Fleury and Rittich are both good goaltenders. However, on both the respective teams, they've now kind of lost their starting positions and are now both kind of backup goaltenders. So I see that as a problem, is not getting enough games in to help out, and you could be losing a lot of games if your goaltenders aren't playing at all. So that kind of hurts the Bears a little bit. The goaltenders won't be playing that much. But on the other hand, you never know. Starters get injured all the time. If some of the starters get injured, then these guys are golden. Like, they're great guys to take over as the starter, and they'll just rack up the points for the Bears. But even at that, even as backup goaltenders, I see them at least getting a minimum 30 games each, like in the 50-30 ratio. I know we're not getting that many games this year, but I just use that as a ratio. Let's say, okay, play 3 out of every 8 games there, if that's any better. Hey, look at that. I can do fractions and percentages all on the fly like that. Whoa, I'm a rock star. But yeah, so super solid forward, super solid defense, looking really good there. And the goaltending, I will just give it, I can only give it average, but it's solid because of the type of goaltenders that they are. So overall, really solid team. If there was a negative that I could find on the Bears, it would probably be in the prospect department, where they're sitting on 4 prospects, and I don't see any hidden gems in that group. But you never know. Casey Middlestat was the guy that I thought was going to be really good, but I don't know. Just doesn't seem to be panning out that much. But overall, this is definitely one solid team for sure. When it comes to the draft, the Bears decided and opted to go with all 8 of their original draft picks. So Bears are situated very good to add to their team, and they don't have to add a lot of people. And that was the difference for me putting the Bears ahead of Pitter Patter, was the draft and the draft picks that Dan has. And I know I shouldn't have done it, but I can't help but think that by the time the draft is over, the Bears will be the better of the 2 teams. But I could be wrong. It'd be interesting to see how that shakes out. So Anyway, so that looks like we're done the Bossy predictions for the year, and we'll see how close I am. Leave your comments in the section down below. I want to know if you guys think I'm an absolute moron, or well, I know you guys probably think that anyway. But let me know if you disagree with where I put your team personally. Let me have it. I can take it. I got look at these shoulders. They're big shoulders. They're broken, but they're big. No, they're not big. They're just broken. Oh well, sucks to be me. So overall, I'm just gonna give a recap here. I got Dan the Man's New Brunswick Bears finishing in first place. Steve Grant's Pitter Patter is gonna come sliding into second place. Our three-time Cup champion Rene is coming in at third. Three-time Cup champion, third place. Seems to be a fit. Yes, indeed. We got the Islanders making a move back up in the standings and taking the last playoff spot in the Bossy division with fourth place. And we've got Flying Colors just down below the drop-off point for the playoffs. But I said it in the podcast already. I still think this team can make the playoffs. It'll be their first ever playoff appearance if they can make it this year. And we got Blake Driver's first year with Calgary Oilers. He's going to be putting a stamp on his team. They're going to be coming in at sixth place. The Flames of Fleury, I got at seventh place, and Dono's defenseless team, I have in the basement at eighth place. So that's the way I see it for the Bossy division. I hope everybody has a good night. Take care and peace out.